Someone You Should Know. A program about people you know and even more that you don't. Hosted by Stuart Sachs, veteran, husband, father, and grandfather. Now, here's your host, Stuart Sachs.
Well, welcome, people. I invite you to spend this next hour with us on Someone You Should Know. And the Someone You Should Know sitting right next to me over there, Ryan Michael Galloway. Good morning, Ryan.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I mean, this is going to be one of my all-time favorite shows that I'm going to keep watching over and over again. Because I think I met you. I was trying to figure it out. I think I met you about 6 years ago.
Was it that long ago?
Yeah, wow. I absolutely was blown away. You quickly became one of my favorite artists, and I think by the end of this show, you're going to be a lot of other people's favorite artists too.
Oh,
so I'm giving you a heads up because all over the country, people are tuning in and they're looking at you and saying, "My God, has he got a great beard?" And
hair dye.
When I grow up, I want my beard to look like yours. You've been doing this a long time, haven't you?
Yeah, actually, I started playing professionally, as in getting paid, when I was 15 years old, and a little jazz quartet in Washington D.C. And we were playing in a little club called the Top of the Town, overlooking the Iwo Jima Memorial and the skyline of Washington D.C. And
Wow.
it was during the Carter administration. The lights would go out at exactly 10 o'clock because they were trying to save energy, and we would look at our watches and yeah, it's time for our break when all the lights went out on the monuments. Yeah, long time ago. So that's 15. I'm 65 now. That's a long time.
But wow. So you've been playing what, 50 years?
Shut up. No, yeah, somewhere around there.
Wow. See, and you still look like you're in your 20s.
Well, I don't know about that.
So
maybe the lights blowing it up.
But now you're not from the Washington D.C. area, though. You're from mountain country.
Well, bounced around, to be honest with you. You want a little sketch of the background?
Sure.
It just shut me down if I'm talking too much. But born in New England because my dad was out there for some postgraduate work at Harvard. He got really lucky and got a full ride there. And so while we were in New England, I was born there. And then immediately we moved back to Montana, which is where the family was really from. Spent my early years in Montana. Eventually, we went to Washington, D.C., and so most of my, middle and high school years were all in the Washington, D.C. area, and so that had a lot to do with the formation of just who I was. So Northern Virginia specifically, Washington, D.C. area, and then moved to Texas in 1982, 83, right as we were crossing over there.
Now, you mentioned you moved to the D.C. area. You were in your teens at the time. Were you playing music and writing music even at that time?
I started actually writing for real. I wrote a song when I was probably 6 or 7 years old. It was garbage, but I was playing around with stuff like that. But I started writing for real when I was about 14. And interestingly enough, I probably wrote that song in Montana now that I think about it, because we were bouncing back and forth all the time, spending our summers back quote unquote back home. So, there was still a lot going on out west, so to speak. And but yeah, no, I started seriously writing when I think I was about 14.
Now, you say you were writing. Were you just writing specifically hoping that some artist would come along and hear it and grab the song, or were you writing and performing?
I was writing and performing. I was definitely writing and performing. I was performing before I was showing anybody my original material, but no, I was definitely doing both. And I wasn't looking to perform for anybody else. I was looking at Cat Stevens and James Taylor and people like that and saying, yeah, I want to be the sensitive singer-songwriter. That was the first idea.
And when you started performing, was it just all solo, or as a teen, did you hook up with a couple of people and form small groups?
I mean, yes and yes, exactly that. Because I really didn't take any guitar lessons. I took 5 years of piano when I was a little kid, but I didn't really take any piano or any guitar lessons. And so it was like trading licks and showing each other what was going on. And hey, let's go do a band, or let's do a little folk group or something like that. DC was a very, very rich area to hang around. There was tons of music. There was bluegrass going on there. There was folk. There was rock. There was jazz. Everything you could think of was a couple of quick smatterings of the influences. When I was a teenager, I got to go out to Wolf Trap Farm Park, which is a national park area out there in Northern Virginia, and they were running a folk festival every year. And I got to see Judy Collins. I got to see Elizabeth Cotton, the lady who wrote Freight Train, when she was like 90, played a Martin guitar upside down, and she's just incredible. And during the day, they would have all these little seminars out in the woods, and you'd run into a stage and get to talk to and hang out with people like David Bromberg, who played with Ray Wiley Hubbard, and all these different people. And then I saw my first couple of had my first couple jazz experiences there. Got to see Les Paul in a 300-seat auditorium that was in the basement of the Natural History Museum. I mean, all kinds of stuff like that. But yes, it would coalesce into bands. I probably had 3 or 4 little bands by the time I was, say, 18 or 19. And then we got serious, and the band organization stayed a little longer. We got gigs and we got paid. And I did get paid for the jazz gig that I did at 15, though. That was pretty cool. So.
All right. So now is shortly after that is when you relocated to Texas.
Shortly. I mean, it seemed like it was forever. That was some of the most difficult times of my life, because between, let's see, 18, 19, I was in this great little vocal group that did stuff that was kind of American Eagles and Crosby, Stills and Nash, and really learned how to harmonize well and that kind of thing. And then went on to form a 5-piece band called Prima Donna. And we hung together and toured up and down the East Coast for, like I said, for 4 or 5 years. And then so I made my move when I was down here to Texas when I was 24. Okay. And but in the meantime, I mean, we got to warm up for Rick Derringer's band in Ocean City, Maryland. We got to do all kinds of different fun gigs. We played Gildersleeve's right next to CBGB's in New York. I mean, there's some really cool things we got to do. Not to mention, I'm stepping out on stage one night. Well, actually, there was a bar that we were asked to actually step out onto the bar, because the stage was right behind the bar in a place called the Crazy Horse down on M Street in Washington, D.C. This club was blowing the walls out every single night. We played like a 7-night gig there. It was just a killer. So one Saturday night, I'm stepping out onto the bar and I'm playing my lead, and my drummer says, hey, look down. I look down and lock eyes with Rod Stewart, who's looking up at me playing my guitar. We played a show for the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. Remember NORML? They were a lobbying group in D.C. We played a locked out, highly secured party that they had at the end of one of the years. And there's a high stakes poker game going on in the basement, and all kinds of famous people running around. And John Lennon and Graham Nash came in and watched us play for a little while. I never got to see John Lennon play.
No way.
Yeah, I mean that was incredible. And what other crazy stuff went on in that?
And this is all band. Before you're 25 years old.
Yeah, and that I still never made it big name and lights. After hanging out with all these people. Now that I'm this age, I'm actually thankful for that. But no, there was just so many influences that came in. It was an amazing place to be. And then to come down to Dallas and expecting everything to be country music and stuff like that. No, every major act is coming through town, and I'm getting to see Simon Garfunkel and all these different some of the larger acts. I think the first time I saw Heart was here. That was another thing. So I saw Hardin here in Texas, and John Cougar Mellencamp warmed up for them. Well, when I was in Washington, D.C., we played in the Bayou, and John Cougar was just coming out with his first hit, I Need a Lover Who Won't Drive Me Crazy, and nobody knew who he was. His band warmed up for my band, and boy, was he ticked, because they were traveling around and they were expecting to be the main act. But place again down in Georgetown in D.C., he warmed up for our act because we were the house band, and they weren't going to mess up our act. So that was kind of cool. He was not. Great songwriter, not so great to hang around.
Yeah, and then those were the days when I think he was just John Cougar.
Yeah, right.
Before
Great show. Even back then, did a fantastic show, and I've always respected his songwriting, even though I didn't like him personally very much. But oh well, there's always that.
I know that a lot of the material. I mean, you have branched. Well, maybe I'm putting the cart before the horse. I know that you do a lot of covers. You do a couple, and we may be able to play a clip or something. You do, and you go after the heavy hitters too, because to do a cover of Sting, to do a cover of Bob Seger, and your version of Night Moves just blows me away. Very often, the critics will say, "Don't ever try to do covers of the really big people like." Don't ever touch Michael Jackson or something. But there is a way that you can do a cover that makes it your own.
Right.
You don't lose so are you cautious when you decide, I really like that song and I want to do a cover of that song?
Well, first of all, my philosophy is that the cover songs is what draws people in to listen to your originals. And a lot of people don't feel that way, but I'm not a big star. I travel at a very regional, sometimes national level, and do this stuff in living rooms and that kind of thing. And people just get exhausted listening to nothing but original music over and over and over and over and over again. You got to give them something every once in a while, or in some cases, you got to give them a lot of something every once, for maybe even half your show or 70% of your show, depending on where you're playing. To give them stuff that go, oh yeah, I remember that song. God, it's great. He's playing all these. Oh, he did an original. Oh, that's nice. And they get pulled into that. But if possible, I either want to do something that people go, no, there's no way a single act can do that, or I want to do something where I arrange it, put in a different key, and arrange it so my voice will work in it and that kind of thing. So we were talking about Sting. I had to completely reimagine that song. I had to completely reimagine that song and turn it into really an improvisational jazz journey is what it turned out to be. And I don't sing in his range, and so I had to do something special with it. Night Moves, the reason I like that one, I have a lot of things that I use that's kind of electronic trickery, and I don't use any pre-recorded tracks when I play. But when you hear stuff I try to make it pretty clear that it's just me solo, but you hear background vocals and you hear, all of a sudden I'm taking the lead and there's music still playing behind me. How's all that working? For one thing, I have this box. It's something called a harmonizer. Brand is Digitech. It's a Vocalist 4 for the tech heads out there. And if I plug my guitar into that, so it reads the key of my guitar. I touch a button and it will add vocals, background vocals, words, not just oohs and ahs, but I mean exactly what I'm singing in 1, 2, or 3 part harmony. Actually, I think it goes up to 4, and plus your own book, which makes it 5. Now, it's based on what I sing and what I play, and it's great until I make a mistake. And when I make a mistake, everything falls apart.
Then the mistake is in harmony.
You have to know. I think you have to be a pretty solid harmony singer, or somebody can at least hang on to your melody. Sometimes I have to take a harmony and let it fill in the other things because it doesn't read. I'm playing such a complex chord, it doesn't know how to read it. But usually it does pretty good. It does some pretty cool things. And I also have an organ synthesizer that turns my I can either mix in organ or turn my guitar completely into organ. And I've got this thing called the looper. The looper allows me to take a clip of really as long as I want, but let's say I do a pattern of 12 chords, and I can record it right in front of you and hit that thing again, and it immediately, I mean, without the slightest hesitation, plays it back and allows me to go off and play some leads and do some other things while the music's playing behind me. And then when I start back up playing my rhythm guitar, I'll turn it off. It takes a a very strange mind to make all that work. But like in Night Moves, which you like that version, it's really pretty close to the real one. But by the time I've ended it, I've done just about everything I know how to do in that. I've recorded background vocals that sing behind me, and right in front of you while it's going on. I've added harmonies into what I'm playing. I've added some organ to build it in certain places. It's kind of a tour de force for me of technology, if nothing else. I don't think other than that, it's about like the original, and it's not incredibly special. It's just kind of fun to do, and just bring in all my toys and make them work. Am I making any sense about how?
Yes, and I mean, I have seen you perform with this equipment, and I've always been amazed at how rich the sound is. I mean, there's even a little bit of the percussion that's in, a little bit of bass added to it, and it's amazing to know that you're doing all of that really digitally, or behind you, and yet it doesn't overshadow the vocals that you're doing. It's all, beautifully mixed.
And thank you for that. I have to mix it myself. And so I don't necessarily always know how it's coming out, although I wear phones a lot like this that kind of feed back to me what I'm singing, what I'm doing. So that helps. But sometimes I don't know exactly what frequencies the room is accentuating, and, if the vocals are out enough or not. But, all that, I'm doing it all right there in front of you. The point is, I'm not going off and recording in a studio somewhere and then bringing these tracks in and playing them behind me. I'm creating it all on the stage as you watch. And that's what I think is the cool thing.
I'm gonna shout out to Mark, who's producing the show and all. If you've got that the video of or the Sting
King of Pain.
King of Pain by Sting. If that is available and you can cue that up, maybe we can go through a couple of minutes of that, because I know you open it with amazing guitar work even before you get into the vocal.
That's just kind of a little teaser, and then it starts for real kind of thing. Yeah.
So Mark, if you've got that and you can play it, then go ahead and just go ahead, cue it up and do it.
There's a little black spot on the sun today. Same old thing as yesterday. There's a black cat caught in a high tree top. There's a flagpole rag and the wind won't stop. Stood it before inside the pouring rain. The world turning circles all around my brain. Yes, I'm always hoping that you'll end this rain. It's my destiny to be the king of the king. There's a little black spot on the sun today. That's my soul up there. It's the same old thing as yesterday. That's my soul up there. There's a black cat caught in a high treetop. That's my soul up there. There's a flagpole rag and the wind won't stop. That's my soul up there. I have stood here before inside the pouring rain. The world turning circles all around my brain. Yes, I'm always hoping that you'll end this reign. It's my destiny to be the king of kings.
Oh, I got chills.
Thank you.
All right. So first question that I ask you is, when you're watching that, what is going on in your mind?
Gee, I could have played that note a little bit different. I didn't quite like the phrasing there, and maybe I wonder if I had to reshoot the little piece that that kind of thing.
Are you like an artist who the painting is never finished?
Oh yeah, exactly. And I'm not the only one that's like that. I think so many. I got a friend down in Houston who has been an advisor and mentor to me on the sound side of things, particularly for recording. His name's Dave Williams, and he's a drummer originally with he played with Roberta Flack, and I think toured with Hall & Oates and all kinds of different people, but he eventually became a recording engineer and producer, and he's helped produce, co-produced and mixed some of my stuff, and just has a fantastic ear. He's about, I don't know, he's a bit older than I am, and anyway, where were we going with this? That he was talking. He's telling a story. He asked. Go ahead. Sorry, I was going to say he had asked. Who was that? I think it was Quincy Jones one time. He said, how do you know a record is finished? And he said, basically, you run out of time and money. It's even Quincy doesn't ever, feel like anything's completely finished. He still goes back and hears things he'd like to change. Sorry, that's what I was.
That's why I use the analogy of artists. Very often they finish and they wake up in the morning and they say, I'm finished. Well, no, maybe I need to add a stroke here, a stroke there. And I'm sure as you and I have both seen with live performances by artists, very often they will come out and they will do the same song. And Sting is a good, he and Clapton very often will come out and do some of their big hits, but they will change it up. They will change the tempo. They don't change the lyrics, but they will change the presentation of it. And so that's what makes it interesting. Again, Tom Petty was always that way. Would very often go into a concert and people they went to the concert because they wanted to hear his hits. But sometimes he would do a rocker song as a ballad.
Yeah.
Look, Clapton did it with Layla. And you said something earlier that I want to touch back on. You said people come to hear covers. I am of the opinion that very often I have gone to concerts to see big names. They come out, they just do one hit after another, they say goodnight and go home. And I feel let down because I want to also hear them say, hey, this is something new that I'm working on. Here's a new original piece. This is going to be on the next album. And then you walk away with saying, wow, I really enjoyed that new piece of material.
Yeah.
And also, that's why people may walk in the door because they want to hear some covers by your presentation and your voice. And then you throw out the personal stuff, the stuff that you've written. And that to me is who you are all about.
It also, you do have to read the situation, Stuart, because sometimes your background music, in fact, an awful lot of time, I make an awful lot of money being wallpaper, musical wallpaper, and that's okay. I'm up there, I'm having a great time. I'm gonna really enjoy playing no matter what. And all of a sudden, sometimes during the night, somebody wakes up and goes, "Dang, you are good. Here's $100 tip, or here's a $20 tip." So I have that happen, fairly frequently. And you go, "Wow, okay, somebody was paying attention." And then there's a situation like the house concert or a full concert, big concert where everybody's paying attention to everything you say. And then you can tell all the stories and probably get away with doing, not get away with, but, probably present a lot more original material and modified, covers of other people, because you can tell the story and draw them in a little bit before they just hear it cold. And yes, they come away and they're your fan for life. And it's really cool. Yeah. To be able to present the new stuff or the old stuff in a different way. Dean Martin used to say, if you want to hear me play it just exactly like the album, go buy my records.
That's
here
right.
I'm going to
Yeah.
mess with it. I'm going to have some fun with it. So,
That's how I've always felt about some concerts that I've gone to. This is from my first album. They play the tune. Thank you very much. Here's another cut from that album. Thank you very much. The next song is, I want to be moved. And you said something, just dropped it in there, but I know that it's something that you absolutely, totally love to do. And that's intimate house concerts.
oh yeah.
And
favorite
and,
things.
and tell the audience a little bit about how you got into that and why it is so meaningful to you.
Well, first of all, the general arrangement is somebody invites me to come to their home. I don't charge them anything for that, but they invite all their friends to come over, and they have to either be taking a huge leap of faith that I'm going to do a good job, or they're going to have to have heard me enough to be really confident to do this. It's kind of a hard thing for folks to just say, yeah, come over and hear this guy that I heard once. But anyway, so they invite all their friends, and folks are invited to, to pay, a little bit for that, at the beginning, the end, or anytime they feel it, or not at all. They don't feel like that there was any value in it. And usually by the end of, I do a 45-minute show, a 15-minute break to talk to everybody, and then another 45-minute show, and then we can just kind of hang out and talk, and maybe I, play a few songs, or we talk about songs that people like and stuff like that. It's just a hangout after that. But it allows you to tell all the stories in a very intimate setting. I've done them for less than 10 people. I've done them for 50 people. The size of the show doesn't really matter. The artist has to come and bring their best and realize that every single person counts in a way that they normally don't count. It is absolutely nerve-wracking because you've got people just a few feet from you watching everything that you're doing. And, sometimes musicians like to take chances, but sometimes we kind of hide in the mix or hide in the, nobody's really paying attention to me right now. No, they're paying attention to every single note. And so you have to go out and you have to be ready and completely on your game. So it forces you to be on your game and be the best you can be. It connects with people in a way that could last a lifetime. Almost every single house concert that I've done, I've walked away with fans who will follow me forever, and maybe invite me to their house to play with a different circle of people. It also allows you to, you can wear yourself out in one town. If I were to play in the little town of Frisco here and play the same club over and over and over again, after a while it's like, oh, he's always going to be there on Thursday, we really don't have to go see him tonight. And you lose your audience because they just get burned out on you. But if you didn't do that and all you did was house concerts, you're going over to Mr. and Mrs. Smith's house and playing for their friends, and then you're going over to Mr. and Mrs. Jones' house and playing for their friends, and there might be a slight bit of overlap, but not a lot. And you could play 15 shows in one town and never really hit most of the same audience because, it's these tight circle of friends. And you end up with not just fans, but super fans, people who are really out there to support you and love everything you do. So it is huge. And I think I've been against kind of very skeptical of record companies for a very long time. I can sell 1 million copies of an album and still be in debt to the record company. I can produce my own album and sell 10 at these shows, and I'm in the black. It's like, especially if I use my home recording studio and keep my costs down. So it is a way to get directly to an audience. And as the music industry and all these legacy acts die off, can't do as many shows, and there's really not that many openings for big stars. Yeah, we got a few. We got Adele. We got this. We got that. But really, these folks aren't making very much money doing what they're doing, unless they really get lucky, like Adele as an example. But down here in the underground, there's a tremendous amount of fantastic music being played and being witnessed by folks. And we're really getting back to the art and what the art does, which is to connect people. And yes, you don't have as many, and you won't have as many megastars. We've been through several innovation cycles here, and the big record business thing it's just kind of falling apart. And there's tons and tons of great stuff. The difficulty is filtering that material to find the good stuff. You have to kind of really dig and really want to find it. But the house concert is one of the main ways to connect with folks. I can't remember how exactly I did it, started doing it. But maybe I played a party at one of my relatives' house, and it devolved into a small concert at the end or something like that. And I got, okay, I got to do this more. And then I started noticing that it was really a phenomenon happening around the country, and some people are super into it. Said, okay, this is something I need to pursue. And not only do I do it, my partner Faith and I do it as well. So,
yeah, a lot of folk singers really started out going back into the 60s, and a lot of their careers started in coffee houses. There might have been 10 tables. People were sitting and having some dessert and coffee, and this guy's sitting up on a stool in the corner, and he's performing to 20, 30 people max.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine running into James Taylor or Joan Baez or Joni Mitchell in a situation like that's what they did. But if you think about it, Stuart, the music industry has only really been an industry for, if you're pushing it, maybe 100 years, probably less than that. We started off with these really handcrafted recordings, and the next innovation cycle is they learned how to do these monster distributions of millions of records, and then now we're in the third innovation cycle where people are able to record and share and do things digitally. When the distribution channel changed, those are the big differences, right? And the ability to produce large or small amounts, those are the big differences. Well, before all those three innovation cycles hit, what was happening? We were around campfires, we were in juke joints, we were in jazz clubs, we were in all kinds of different places where, it was a different thing. And I don't know if I necessarily mourn the changes, that going away from the way it's been done for a while, because I don't like to say this too loud all the time, but I've probably made close to $250,000 playing music. It's spread over my lifetime, but the big stars back in my age, Jethro Tull and stuff like that, that's all they got, and they got it boom in one big drop. Yep. And this was maybe a little bit more sane way to do it. I never got hooked into drugs and super self-destructive and trying to go on tour for 30 days in a row and stuff that just flat out kills you. It's all been a pretty cool, enjoyable thing. Anyway, get off my soapbox.
By the way, I want to expand this discussion, but I just want to throw in. I'm getting some comments on the side, and one of them came from my one of my show co-hosts, Brandon Navarra.
Yes, like Brandon. I know Brandon.
You worked with over the years, and he's, oh my God, this guy is so great. We got all kinds of stories. So maybe one day I'll invite you and Brandon to come on the show and talk about some of the old days. But you mentioned earlier that sometimes you do the house concerts alone, and sometimes you have a cohort in this. Faith. Forgot her last name.
It's now Boyd. I don't think you even heard her name. She's gotten married. It used to be
you worked together years ago, and then kind of reconnected. And I believe that was either the first or the second time that I saw you. You were singing with Faith, and she has got a beautiful melodic voice. She also does some writing, and
yes.
you have the album and a shot of rye.
What is it? A Prayer and a Shot of Whiskey.
Yes,
Faith and Rye.
Faith and Rye, Shot of Whiskey.
Yeah.
Great album. Yeah. Still one of my all-time favorite albums. And the two of you have just got two voices that can be completely different, separate, but blend together beautifully. And I know that we do have a clip. If Mark has has that when that's available, maybe a little clip of you and Faith doing a couple things too, and we can share that with the audience too. But
I got a story real quick.
okay,
The
lead in.
very first time we played together in our new formation as a duo was that she called me up after us not having any contact for about 10 or 11 years. And because she was traveling around and being, a teenager and a young person. I produced her when she was under 15 or so. We lost touch. And in my mind, I was like, God, someday I'd just love to get back together with her and do something, serious. But, we both had some growing up to do. And so she gave me a call one day and said, I've been out on your website and I really miss playing. I said, well, come on over and play. So 26th of December, I think in 2015, maybe, when a tornado hit her place, hit her neighborhood. And so she couldn't make it that night. Early January, she comes out to play with me. And guess the very first place, Brandon, the very first place was at Espiritu, the place that Brandon was working at and running. So that was she came in and did about 5 songs with me, and we looked at each other and we said, we need to do something with this. that was the beginning of the second phase. So yeah.
Wow.
Do we have it queued?
Yeah, Mark, have we got that? Oh, here we go. Oh, you're gonna love this.
Well, a prayer and a shot of whiskey is sometimes what I need. If the situation's looking risky and I might get bruised or bleed, I feel like I'm hard to get started when I'm driving, turning every head, and I ain't even trying. I know that I'm going to a place I don't belong, even when it feels so good. I know it might be wrong. You make me fall in love again every time you sing that song. Faith and
I love that. She's a little girl, but man, she opens her mouth and that lung power, she can really belt out a tune.
Oh yeah, and she reminds me a little bit of maybe taking Linda Ronstadt and crossing her with Dolly Parton.
Yeah,
And it works pretty doggone well. And by the way, that was live, and that was not a dubbed performance by any stretch. That was a live performance, and that's how we sound. So I'm very proud of that, the fact that we can deliver like that. And by the way, half the time the musicians haven't met each other. I mean, we just rehearse in sections, and she shows up, and we all know the songs, and we go. It's kind of amazing, but that's the way you got to do it when you're not quite living in the same town, and you're trying to cover things in a efficiently, shall we say, not interfere with anybody's work. But no, Faith is, she's remarkable as a performer, and, cues can be, and just really, really delivers. But beyond that, we have like a 30 plus year difference, 35 year difference in our ages. And for us to be able to connect and create on such an even-handed and equitable personal relationship where we're doing all this creating and stuff, it's just very unusual, the fact that we have connected the way we have. It's not a romantic thing, that it is a very, very deep friendship, and goes way beyond the just the music. And I got to do the photography at her wedding, and among other things, and she's got a cute as can be little boy now, and so a lot has happened over the last year and a half, 2 years, that have kind of made it a little bit more difficult, but the connection is still there, and it's just so much fun to perform with her. But it's very fun to create with her as well. It's not just what you're seeing out there out front. It is a very real and deep friendship.
Yeah, and she's, as I say, she's a writer too. She was the When the Rain Comes Over Texas. Is that a tune that she penned? Or is
That's me. Yeah,
that's your tune. Okay,
she sang the heck out of it, but that was my
yeah. Which again is one of my favorite tunes. And folks, you can go onto the website and orionrocks.com. And there are some clips of some of these tunes that are there, and enjoy it, because if you are in the DFW area primarily, once we get past this COVID thing and can get back into live performances, but in the meantime, you were talking about the house concerts and all. How has the pandemic affected the house concert business?
It's pretty much obliterated right now. I'm not really doing any shows unless they're outdoors. There's maybe one or two places where the social distancing can be kept really well, but I've been playing a lot on lately some very cold restaurant patios. Well, not that they don't have heaters and stuff. It's just that I think a musician's a little more sensitive to the temperature than others, but no,
right.
house concerts aren't happening right now, and I don't think that they're a safe thing to do right now. But you know what?
Virtually?
Every time I see I just see so much garbage out there in the virtual world. Very, very little looks good, and so what I've done is I've recorded songs and just released songs, gotten the sound right and gotten it, all mixed together right, and then just released them on Facebook and on YouTube rather than attempt to do a live thing, because I just haven't heard hardly anything that sounds good live. The churches seem to have it down, that they can broadcast live and it sounds good, and that's great, but I just don't want to risk turning out garbage. I respect my fans too much.
Well, hopefully we're rounding the corner. The vaccines are out now, and we get this thing going. So maybe by the springtime things will open up and things will change around. In the meantime, you reach out to your fans just to keep them connected. One thing you did that I don't know if I've known anybody else done before. You had 2 albums that were released simultaneously. And is it All Dressed Up and Naked
Numbers?
Naked Numbers.
Yeah.
And what's the story behind releasing two albums? Some of the same songs on both albums.
All of the same songs.
Yeah,
so, but it ties in with the name. We call a song a number, right? I'm going to do this next number for you, right? So, but it's a little play on words. Songwriters like that kind of thing. A lot of them do. My kids, when they were doing math in school, if they were doing a problem about adding and subtracting apples, or if they were doing something with dollar signs on it, something like that, teacher always said, "Don't give me any naked numbers. I wanted to say you got 3 apples at the end, or I want you to put the dollar sign on it. If we're talking about money." And so I don't want any naked numbers. And I thought naked numbers, that's kind of a funny phrase. So naked numbers is
there.
What's that? Yeah. Naked Numbers is an album full of songs that are all stripped down. They're all very minimally produced, hardly any rhythm. There might be a bass here and there, but it's just mostly an acoustic, intimate performance of the songs. I think it's pretty extensive. It's like 14 songs, something like that.
Yeah.
All Dressed Up. Guess what? Same exact songs, but with full band arrangements. So I got the Naked Numbers and I got them all dressed up.
And it's just, that was just a brilliant coup to do something like that.
I don't know. People got really confused, but they have sold and they've done well, and people like it, and they get familiar with the songs, and they just say, "Well, what's the difference? It's the same songs. Just if you like me playing here now live, go with that one. If you'd rather hear it as a full band, go with the other one." And they, "Oh, okay," and then they'll go ahead.
Well, I invite the audience, if you ever have the opportunity when things open up a little bit, or even if Brian Michael Galloway is sitting out on one of those cold patios and you want to go for dinner, and not only get one of those albums, get both of them, because it's a real experience to listen to the two of them. But so I know we have been having a good time this morning, and we're getting a little bit close to the end of the show. We had a bit that we were going to play at the end of the show, or you're sitting there with a guitar in your lap. You want to do another bit of music before we close out the show?
Let's see. I was thinking about a couple things. Hey, how's that sounding? You hear my guitar okay?
Sounds great. Sounds like you're in my living room.
So you said you wanted to hear something new. I'm not going to do any fancy playing here.
Okay.
This is going to be off the next album that Faith and I do together that we're working on. We've had several working titles, from Rebooted to In the Bunker, but we'll see. So these words came to me, and the words were Seven Rain, and I said, wow, that's really an odd couple of words together, but it's very evocative. What am I going to do with that? And I just like the sound of it, and I thought about it for weeks, and I thought somehow I need to come up with that could be an album title, it could be a song title, it could be a lot of different things. 7, the number 7, and the word rain. What in the world? Why did those come to me, and why did they come to me that way? And so I made it. I said, it's got to be the last line of the chorus, and there's got to be a way I can tell a story. And I was thinking back about something that's happened to me about 15 times. And probably has happened to a lot of other people. Let's see how we go. Seems like I knew the girl forever. There were times when I'd like to take her home, but she said that she lost another lover. Won't make her fall because she hates to be alone. So I listened all about her last disaster. I told her everything is gonna be okay. I said, I can't solve your problems, but I'll be here. I turned away to love another day. She said, nothing ever grows without some changes. Nothing ever heals without some pain. And when a flower blossoms in the springtime, you need 7 sunny days and 7 rain. But you never want to be out on the rebound. It'll take you down some roads you shouldn't go. I told her when she called me up a few months later, I don't want to hurt you more than you already know. She said nothing ever grows without some changes. Nothing ever heals without some pain. And for a flower to blossom in the springtime, you need 7 sunny days and 7 rain. I thought about the times we lived and laughed. I let her go when she wanted, 'cause I knew our future was predicted by our past. And she had more than she wanted to do. So I said nothing ever grows without some changes. Nothing ever heals without some pain. For a flower to blossom in the springtime, you need 7 sunny days and 7 rain. 7 sunny days and 7 rain. Hopefully I came across. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, and I had my own personal house concert.
Did it come through without breaking up? I was really.
It came through beautifully. It
Okay,
came through
good.
beautifully. Ryan, cannot thank you enough. The very, very best to you, to your wife, your family, to Faith, her family, and all. We're going to have to do this again, and I look so forward to seeing you in a house concert and also back out on the stage again.
Well, thank you, Stuart. Thank you for having me. This is awesome. I just I love hanging out with you. It's always fun to talk, and I really appreciate you.
Very
Thank you,
best
thank
to you for the holidays. That'll do
Likewise.
it for another edition of Someone You Should Know. Go out, make it a good weekend. Remember, as I say, be yourself because everyone else is taken. Take care now. Bye.